I can feel it in my water. It's down there somewhere on this delightfully titillating Feedback Friday. Let us dissect the vexed question of how grip actually works. Fact me, my good man. I'm John Cadogan from AutoExpert.com.au, the place where Aussie new car buyers save thousands off their next new cars. Hit me up on the website for that. In just a second, the physics of grip, completely decompiled and decoded, how it really works. But first, an important community service announcement. Have you seen this man? Police in northern England have launched a nationwide manhunt for Stephen Wilson, who is suspected of torturing his somewhat hot daughter, Rebecca. In a last-ditch desperate plea, Rebecca reached out to me via the interwebs recently, but nobody has since seen her and authorities are quite concerned. Rebecca told me, "My dad is absolutely obsessed with your channel. I have no interest in cars at all, but he is driving us mad. He says you bring out a new video every Friday, and if I see him on the weekend, I'll have to suffer it, like it or not. My dad tells everyone about your channel and he binge-watched all of your past videos. Please help. I don't know how much longer the family can take this." Rebecca, I am so terribly sorry. I had no idea this would happen. I'm aghast that your father is abusing you thus. For him to inflict me upon you in this way is a disgraceful, undignified abuse of your fundamental human rights. Nobody deserves that. To Stephen Wilson, I'd say, it's not too late to turn this around, Stephen. Together, we can work this out. I know you never intended to let this terrible addiction spiral out of control, but I need you to focus, mate. Think about what you are doing to your beautiful daughter. Rebecca has become so desperate that she's reached out to a man like me for assistance. Talk about scraping through the enamel on the bottom of the barrel. We can't let this continue, Stephen. I will always have mad platonic love for you and your interest in my reports, but I need you to put down the keyboard, release the hostage, and then come back out into the real world with your hands up. And don't make any sudden moves. This sounds hard, I know, but I promise you'll feel better if you do, and you know it's the right thing to do, right? We'll get you the help you need with the proper therapy and the right medication. You might one day even be safe to go online once again. We can hope. It's always the ones we love who hurt us the most. Physics, the inconvenient truths that make the world go round, literally, but which you never paid attention to in school because you were thinking about aesthetics. Today's dissertation, grip, the wacky interaction that allows you to walk and control a car in two-dimensional space and time. Without grip, acceleration, braking and cornering would merely be nice ideas, flights of fancy. But how does grip actually work? This episode is inspired by a very interesting correspondent named Fred Barker. Kindly note, I have left this exactly as Fred wrote it in order to preserve every delicate conversational nuance.
Mostly good, but the comment in the video, quote, "more rubber on the road equals more grip." Wrong. Who was asleep in physics class? Grip, i.e. friction, is a combination of coefficient of friction and the load at contact point. Ideally, the coefficient of kinetic friction only depends on the nature of the surfaces. It does not depend on any other factors, including the relative speed of the surfaces and the surface area of contact. In short, wide slicks achieve better traction because they are made of softer rubber and are used because wear is reduced over the surface and can withstand the required duration. Bicycle tyre will have the same grip as a slick, given made out of the same compound, just won't last too long. Go back to the physics class, or maybe I am just another bullshit dickhead tongue-in-cheek, but very, very true. Do like your videos, but you do stray away from the science-proven facts way too often.
Yes, quite. Very, very true indeed, Fred. Very true. I tend to agree with you on this. You probably are just another bullshit dickhead tongue-in-cheek who can't punctuate a basic sentence, apparently, yet also spectacularly unafraid to proffer your expert scientific advice. So that's a very interesting combination. Fred is profoundly ignorant about grip, I'd suggest, personal opinion. I think that's objectively true, too. Let's see. Fred, your statement about a bicycle tyre having the same grip as a slick tyre on a race car, quod era demonstrandum, really? It reminds me of that famous urban myth. According to aerodynamic theory, bumblebees cannot fly. So just to be crystal true on this, it's actually very difficult to prove that bumblebees cannot fly because they seem to be flying just fine. So if the theory actually suggests bumblebees cannot fly, then one's effort might be better directed at debugging the theory or perhaps how we are applying it. Fred, mate, you are right about friction, amazingly enough, but you are wrong about grip. They are not interchangeable terms, mate. Bumblebees can fly, meaning it's a self-evident truth that wider tyres generate more grip, and this is not just because they are softer. The same performance tyre is often available in a variety of widths, and the wider ones grip the road better. This is why there are limits on tyre size often imposed upon certain classes of motor racing in the regulations. So we better debug the theory and how Fred is interpreting it. Friction is a pure physics concept that is independent of area. It's a material property concerning the interaction of two materials in contact with each other. Steel on steel in the case of the railway, or rubber on bitumen in the case of driving a car. How hard it is to move something by overcoming friction depends on only two things: the coefficient of friction between the two materials, called mu, because science routinely doffs its cap to the most relaxed nation in the EU. Mu is about 0.2 for steel-on-steel interactions. And the load applied, that's the other thing, often by gravity at 90 degrees to the surface. So if you've got a smooth steel box on a smooth, level steel floor and the box weighs 100 kilos, it takes 20 kilos of sideways shove to move the box, because 0.2 times 100 kilos equals 20 of lateral thrust. Simple. If you put a 100 kilo rubber block on a dry bitumen road, it takes a 90 kilo sideways shove to move the block, because the coefficient of friction is about 0.9. The area of the box in contact with the floor doesn't really matter, because friction is independent of area. Because friction is a pure physics thing, but grip is applied physics, dirty physics, physics in a strip club. Area does matter in the case of tyres. It really matters. It matters because grip is a combination of two factors. It's friction plus coarse mechanical interlocking. Rubber is very flexible and the surface of the road is rough. That means the weight on the tyre causes the tread face to deform into the surface irregularities of the road surface, and when you apply some lateral thrust from braking, accelerating, cornering, or some combination of those three, if the tyre is going to slide, the thrust must be high enough to overcome both the friction and also the shearing type resistance offered by the rubber interlocking itself into the road. You can test the interaction for yourself. You will need Cletus Van Dam, a ridiculous hat, a sheet of printer paper, the gayest gaffer tape you can lay your hands on, and a suitable automobile. I'm using a Subaru WRX STI because I have a ram raid of the local convenience store planned for this weekend. And also it's an awesome car that I might review for you. Step 1. tape the paper to the road. 2, drive over it. 3, examine the surface. 4, try not to get runned over in the process. Although that might actually be a better story. And if that does not convince you, there's a second interaction in play down there in the sleazy strip club of dirty applied physics. Then I don't know what will. My work here, thankfully done. Back to you, fat man. Nobel Prize laureate Cletus Van Dam Hawking there, proving definitively the grand unified theory of grip. To wit, it's this second keying itself into the road by deforming interaction that means wider tyres actually do grip the road better. This is why they use slick tyres in racing when it's dry. Tread is absolutely not an asset in the dry when it comes to grip. If you don't have any tread on the road, it means you get more rubber, and more rubber on the road means more interlocking, and more interlocking means more grip. It's also one of the many, many reasons why a BMW M3 corners a fair bit better than a bicycle. That's very true, I think you'll find. And of course, bumblebees everywhere can now remain blissfully aloft, unburdened by the concerning notion that this aerodynamicist-inspired house of cards could bring them crashing down to the ground at any moment. Yes! I'm John Cadogan, and I almost wish to learn more from Fred about physics. But not really. Thanks for watching. Have a great weekend.